Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, welcome to anyone who is new. So if you're new, you're catching an interesting reading. So this is the thank you reading. I do this once a month, and it's really just to say thank you for everybody who comes to listen. Whether you just come and listen once in a while, or if you're one of those people that's a daily listener, whether you get the extended readings or not, and just kind of just thank you for being here and being part of the collective. So what we'll do for today for the thank you reading is going to be a soulmate reading, and it's going to be relatively general, just kind of getting the overall energy of what's happening around you. And so it will be a general reading for this collective as usual. So it won't resonate with everybody, but if it does resonate with you, then by all means take a look at some of the other messages and think about maybe subscribing, because all of the readings are very much connected. So we're going to get in there today, like I said, get some general messages, but they're also going to be, we'll do the extended right here as part of it. So all you do is just kind of sit tight, and I will do the reading, and then I will shuffle the cards, and then I will do the extended all in one big reading. So it's kind of, it's a little bit of a bonus. It's part of the thank you, just having the extended reading bolted onto the end there like that. So you don't need to go in and do you don't have to click on any links or anything like that. So we're going to start with just kind of the energy that is going around at this time. So it's the energy around you. There's going to be some residual from the eclipse. There's going to be some residual from the full moon. We know the full moon energy tends to extend beyond the timing of the full moon, sometimes several days in each direction. And this one's been pretty powerful. So yeah, we want that. The Hermit. There's this sense of something feels like it's kind of finally an opportunity to rest. There's something that feels like it's finally an opportunity to rest, but there's some comfort in that. We've got the Nine of Teacups and the Six of Teacups. Okay, and that's where we stop. So this is what's kind of in the general energy right now. It's an element of quiet that seems to be entering right now. There's been a lot of back and forth, a lot of swirling. A lot of people either have experienced communication from their person, or they felt the extreme desire to make that communication. And either way, it may wear you out. Even if it has gone reasonably well, it has a tendency to, a lot of energy is coursing through you all at once, and it has a tendency to wear you out. However, there's a sense of being comfortable in each other's energy, even especially when there's not a conversation going on. So whether there has been communication or not, there's a feeling of being comfortable in that energy and having positive memories. That's pretty much what comes out, is positive memories of the times that you've had together. But some of those memories go back to, the first times that you really met. Just kind of maybe even having those experiences show up in their dreams. There's a little bit of a kind of a dreamy energy here. So with it has come a little bit of sadness, a little bit of feeling like the energy has started to slow down, and just kind of maybe some overthinking. There's a sense of them wondering, so if they did reach out and contact you, they feel like things didn't come out right. And we know that there was a high probability of things not necessarily coming out right. I think that concerns them a little bit, and just kind of makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I don't know that it's a super bad kind of feeling. They are having some struggles inside though. And so it's a Five of Wands, but it feels a little bit like a Five of Swords. Feels like it's got that that anxiety sort of feeling in it. But it's also, it's like this is almost a slow motion kind of energy, which is unusual for the Five of Wands, because it's usually a big struggle, and this is like a struggle, but everybody's really tired. That's kind of how it feels. We do have the Ten of Cups. Something about being presented with something that seems like it's too good to be true, and just not being able to bring yourself to respond to it the way you always pictured that you would respond to it. It's kind of got that. And it's a feeling of, okay, I still have some work to do. I know what my happiness is, maybe, but I don't know all of the details, and I still need to work through some of the details. That's what this Eight of Cups feels like. But with this Four of Pentacles, there's something that has changed during this eclipse cycle. So that's going to put it in the last couple weeks since that last new moon where we had the solar eclipse. Between that was the beginning of this eclipse cycle, and now we've had the full moon where we had the lunar eclipse, and that was the closure of this eclipse cycle. Within that time, something has really changed. Something has really changed within them. I get that maybe things have changed in their lives also, but this is about the change that's happened internally within them. And yet there's this feeling of not having figured everything out, but having some idea of where where things are. It's a little bit like, it reminds me of standing at one end of a room, looking and kind of getting a feel for where the furniture all is, and then flipping off the light and trying to walk through the room. So you have some idea of it, but you haven't made it through the room. You know, it's that kind of feeling. It feels like it's heavy in their energy. There is a King of Swords here. It feels a little bit like an honorable mention, but it's a strong, strong honorable mention. I think I'm going to go ahead and keep it out. I feel like I'm supposed to go ahead and do that. It has a feeling of learning from the experience during the process of the experience. So there's a strong logic in this one, in this King of Swords, but it is also the feeling of kind of learning on the spot. Again, doesn't, and we've talked about this before, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you've learned something that you know how to wield that knowledge. However, the act of learning it and being able to recognize it and kind of see it in your mind's eye as you're learning it, it doesn't necessarily make it easier. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't even necessarily get there more quickly, but it's a feeling of, there's a recognition that comes with it. And I feel like it's a recognition that comes in with this Three of Swords also. And it's kind of what I was grasping at trying to say there. So with the Ten of Swords, so we've got the Ten of Swords and we've got the Nine of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles is an honorable mention that tells us there is probably something going on in one of your households. Feels like it's theirs, could be yours, I suppose. But I really feel like it's more change happening in their household, and it's something that makes them feel a little bit less like they have control over things. But it reminds me of this Four of Pentacles feeling over here. So something has changed in the last couple of weeks that makes them, the impact of decisions around this household feels different to them somehow. Now there has been healing from something that was really a tragedy from the deep past. And then with this Nine of Pentacles, this is again that feeling of emotional independence, but it's like, it's not so much emotional independence, it's appreciating or having an appreciation and an admiration for your emotional independence. I feel like that's what that is. That's that feeling of them utilizing you for strength. And really there's a strong feeling of something that has a great future. That's what I feel with this. I'm drawn to the fact that she's with child, and I'm not suggesting that you are with child, but there's something that is, it portends a significant future. There's something special about this that says, hey, it's not just not over. It's got the bigger portion of it here is yet to come. So that's a little bit of what's in the energy right now. I guess let's take a look at what's happening in what else you need to know. It's really just kind of what else you need to know in the energy that we've got. Still going to be heavy with that full moon and that eclipse energy, but we might see some other things as well. So we're just opened up and waiting to see what comes in. Okay, so we've got the Four of Cups in the reverse. Surprise. Something is, it feels like it's not bigger than you expect, but nicer than you expect. Something matters more than you would have expected, is nicer than you would have expected. Truth comes out, vulnerability comes out. That's a little bit more than you might have expected as well. Everything seems to be a little bit more than you might have expected. But what concerns me is the This has that love bombing sense to it. It's the Emperor in reverse, and it's a feeling of control, but it's like someone doing something for the purpose of being controlling and even recognizing that they're doing it. So this feels like your person, and if you've got somebody who has a tendency to do a little bit of love bombing or do a little bit of being incredibly charismatic to kind of lure you in, and then they get a little sloppy after that, and then all of a sudden it starts to seem like they're letting go and they're disappearing, and things like that. If you've got a cycle and then they come back and they do it again, that's kind of what this feels like a little bit here. But I think in a lot of cases the cycle is going on, but they're not actually going as far as reaching out. But that doesn't stop the energy from doing what it's doing. So we've got the Ace of Pentacles here saying that there is, yeah, that's like and that's the only one we want. That's what that reminds me of. Somebody who goes through this whole process, feels all of this, writes the note, and then doesn't hit send. That's got that kind of feel to it a little bit. All right, so we've got the Six of Swords in the reverse. And the Eight of Wands in the upright, and they're both saying something very similar. So it's about a lot of energy happening fairly quickly. And the Eight of Wands is essentially that, just a lot of energy happening very quickly. The Six of Swords is in the reverse and feels like you need things to slow down a little bit, to take stock of things, to kind of get a feel for what's going on, but it's not having the opportunity to do so. But it feels like something does happen. There's a sense of mounting fear with the Page of Swords. So something happens to scare your person a little bit. I don't know if it depends on how far along they are in their healing path as to whether it scares them away, I guess. But it does have that feeling of them getting triggered in that way that tends to make them want to run away or become otherwise less communicative. So we saw that coming, though. It was, I don't remember which reading it was. It might have been the day before yesterday. Again, we know they're all fairly connected, but it's just sometimes it's difficult to remember which day they came in. But there was a sense of your person feeling a little bit more magnanimous, a little bit more willing to reach out, a little bit more wanting to talk. They were just having a really good kind of almost an extroverted sort of day. And we also knew that it was going to end up, it will go back the other direction. And this is that going back the other direction. But it feels extra profound because of I guess in a lot of cases, more vulnerability occurred. So they're trying to figure out, like, what have I said so far? Am I too embarrassed to show my face again? Things like that. With the High Priestess here, it's like the cat's out of the bag. There's something that has been acknowledged. It's not something that maybe is brand new that is happening, but there's an acknowledgement of oh, now it's real because we've actually acknowledged it. We know now that it's not in both of our heads. So if you think about it and you really get in there, you'll realize it's not been in your heads. Not entirely, but a lot of it, entirely too much of it has taken place in your thoughts, in your heads, and not in the emotional or the spiritual realm or the physical one. So we've got the Ace of Swords and the Hermit here. It goes right in line with what I was just saying. With the Ace of Swords, this is about seeing that truth in yourself. And I don't know, like, how comfortable, it has to do with how comfortable they are with the truth that they find in them. And the wisdom that they run across, because they're continuing to uncover wisdom, they're continuing to learn, and they're continuing to be reasonably open to it. I feel like the Hanged Man is here as well. Kind of the Hanged Man in the upright gives you a little bit of a sense of that perspective, that new perspective that's coming through, and something that all of a sudden has been reframed, essentially. But the thing is, with the Hanged Man, I feel like there's more than one new perspective coming their direction. Luckily, though, they've got that openness to listening, openness to learning, and to just being willing to kind of get in there and observe. Changes everything a little bit. But with this Knight of Swords, there's still that tendency to with the Knight of Swords and the Queen of Swords, a tendency to cut things out, a tendency to run away. And there's a moment that they're going to have to make a decision. The Tower moment is it's a very emotional experience, but it's one where they're like, you've been kicking the can down the road emotionally. They have, and they have run out of road. It's that type of thing. So they've had this tendency to be somewhat quick, rash decisions, things like that, and that tendency still exists in them. But they've also got this openness to learning, and in some cases, those two things are not going to coexist especially well. There's a tendency here for them to... There's that Hanged Man. There's a tendency here for them to move forward, but this one's not going to be easy. There's the Hanged Man and Judgment, so they're having new perspectives that are bringing them some new opinions about themselves and what they've accomplished so far, what they haven't accomplished so far, what they've done with it. This is a kind of a, there's a lot in here that says there are some intense realizations. And again, with the new perspective, I just think it's not entirely comfortable for them, but by the same token, I feel like they are also... This is a time of significant change, just like, if you watch the last couple of, I think it's been the last two thank you videos, they seem to come at times of great change, or we get in here and it seems like, okay, so we've been seeing things go a certain way, or maybe they were changing even as we were giving the readings. I remember a couple months ago, I felt that, and I was like, wow, guys, we've got our finger on the pulse while it's changing. Okay, so I guess I'm curious about a couple of things, like what is this Tower experience that's happening for them, and what is the nature of this change? And maybe that's where we'll start the extended with here in a minute, and you'll see that because I'm going to gather up all the cards and I'm going to shuffle, and then I will just do the extended as part of my thank you to you. But I think, as we get to that, one of the things that we need to look at is I see that there's a shift. I see that there's a new perspective in them. I also see this Tower is probably the one that gets my attention the most. There's something that creates an emotional change in them, and I'm wanting to ask the question for you about what that emotional change is and kind of what it is impacting. I'm wondering if it's maybe whatever's happening in their household, because it looks like there's a lot of this Empress energy around the future is very positive. So I guess I'm curious about this Empress future. I'm curious about this Tower. And I'm curious about this Ten of Pentacles. I think maybe we will pull those cards out specifically, and I will use the other deck to shuffle to find out what's happening with those. But first, let's get in here and get a feel for direction for you. This is the type of people that tend to gravitate toward this collective are people who really want to solve their own problems. They want to get solutions. They want to get better. They want to feel better. It's not just about experiencing what's happened. It's also about learning the lessons. And so here's the part of the reading, that third part over here, that's about you. It's about your lessons and where you need to focus given what else is here on the table. And I was explaining the other day, and I know I've talked with a couple of you about this. Since we always focus on this part, I've noticed that we've got people now that have said, I'm going to walk away from my person, and so they don't watch the whole reading as much anymore. They fast forward to this part number 3, where they watch the first couple parts and then say, well, I'm more interested in where I've got to go because the lessons still speak to them. And so I would just say that's fantastic. But I mean, the fact that this collective is so inclined toward answers is one of the reasons that is so exciting to me to be here with you. I had no idea. I was explaining the other day that I never could have guessed that this collective would be as amazing and powerful as it is. And you guys inspire me every day. When you send me an example of the things that set your soul on fire, like, I get the goosebumps. You guys can't imagine how amazing it is to know. I feel like I know you, and to see things like that. One person had sent me a link to an event, or not an event, I'm sorry, an effort that they manage that is the thing that sets their soul on fire. And I would just say thank you. This happened just a couple days ago. Yet another thing that just made tears come to my eyes because I was so impressed. I'm impressed with you guys. I'm amazed. And I love being here with a collective that does these things, even in the face of all these difficult things. So that's kind of what we're asking. What is it that you're focusing on in the face of this energy? Not that it's always awful. I mean, this isn't awful energy, but it is difficult. And it is something that requires patience to work through. And so here's where we focus. We focus on one of flowers. That's that Ace of Wands energy. That's the thing that sets your soul on fire. So you're being encouraged to go ahead, pour some energy into that thing that is your passion. One of hedgehogs is like an Ace of Pentacles. That's earth energy. And that's telling you doors are opening. This is a time for you to move forward. And you've got this Knight of Cups, Knight of Teacups, feels like a natural salesman. So this is you being naturally magnetic, just having you have those good days where you get in and everything you touch turns to gold, and your flame is growing and I'm getting all excited, but it's and we know your flame is growing as we get toward the back half of the year. And so to see the cards come out like this and say, this is your time, go, this is going to be awesome, this is going to be awesome, focus on the thing that you care about and just go. It's going to be beautiful, it's going to be brilliant, doors are opening for you, it's like they're waiting. That's the kind of energy. And so the thing is, it's exciting when I get to do the reading for you live or like this, because you get to actually see the cards come out, so I didn't just make it up. You've got the Two of Cups in the reverse here, which means difficult partnerships. What I'm feeling here is partnerships that are being redefined more than anything else. You've got some boundaries to redefine here. And it doesn't necessarily mean end to partnerships, but again, it does mean some redefinition of them. And so be aware that you may feel like you're losing yourself a little bit in the process. Might help to write some things down. Maybe if it's even just, here are some things that are very important to me value-wise. And sometimes what your values are, but it just helps to get them out in front of you and just write it down and say, these are the things that I stand for. Here's what I kind of, this is what I think I know about myself. And then take a filter of ego, take the filter of ego out and see kind of what happens. It's a very interesting exercise. We've got the Four of Cups coming in again here in the reverse. It came up over here, and this is a pleasant surprise, but it's like a pleasant surprise where like one of those days where you get into a workout and it feels extra good and you're in the groove. It's that kind of pleasant surprise. So it's not something that you didn't think you could do. It's something that turns out to feel or be better than expected, but even better than you can even expect, like having great weather. We have no idea what's going to happen if you schedule something 2 weeks out. But if you then get there and you're like, ooh, the weather is extra wonderful, this is that kind of pleasant surprise. There is a delightful sort of an ability to recognize love and to reward it. So, that's the words that wanted to come out, but it feels like you can tell who's willing to exchange equal energy with you and you're happy to engage. So it's not necessarily just going to be romantic situations. This is all situations. And I remember I mentioned over here, you were like a natural salesperson. It's an ability to interface with people on a level that maybe you don't always feel. But the Seven of Pentacles here, it has you filling gaps. It has you filling gaps. And the one thing that I would say is try not to let it feel too urgent. You have plenty of time to fill these gaps. It's like social gaps or some sort of thing that you feel like it's been a gap for a long time. And it is going to be like social or political. And once you start moving in a direction, you're going to be like really wanting to move quickly. And I don't know that there's a lot of value in doing that. I think there's more value, and it's because you've been missing out. There will be more value in truly experiencing this, experiencing yourself filling the gaps, celebrating the wins. Allow yourself to really experience the end of this year, because it looks like it's going to go in a lot of positive directions. And you've got the Nine of Swords. And what sticks out for me, so this is an anti or a non-anxiety card. In the upright, it's a card of anxiety, having trouble sleeping. In the reverse, what's really getting me here is it doesn't just feel like it's a lack of anxiety. It feels like something that used to bother you no longer does. It has that kind of feel to it. But you've got something you've got to get back in and resolve. This is the World in reverse. Something's not over, something's not resolved. You are going to provide the impetus to resolve it. And I feel like it makes you feel more whole when you do this. But it's something that you may not quite have realized that you had left it undone. So it doesn't feel like reaching out to this person and making a resolution. Although it could be you maybe said something the last time that you talked with them that came out differently than you know. And you have an opportunity to fill a gap, to do so calmly, and to resolve something. There is something that needs to be resolved. And I feel like communication is going to be the way that happens, but it may not be relative to your person either. You've got the Nine of Wands in reverse. So whatever it is, you're going to be getting to it in a very different way than you've ever gotten to it before. Because you're going to have some of the walls that would have been up before, just defenses that you might have had in front of you before, you have removed. And so as you re-encounter this, feels pretty different. When you come to resolve this thing that's unresolved, it feels pretty different for you. Okay, so you've got the Queen of Wands. This is all of the impetus to find and resolve and restore balance. It's a very balanced Queen of Wands, so it's a lot of energy moving forward and not a lot of toxicity in that energy. And aren't we glad we're stopping here so this devil does not feel like it's in here? Although I'm going to shuffle one more time and make sure I'm not making a mistake, because I like that I can always put the cards back in, and if it feels like they're not supposed to come back out, they won't. But if they are, then they do. So we see the Ace of Wands again. This is that same energy that tells you to you need to jump into the thing that is going to set your soul on fire. The thing that's new, the thing that's exciting, may not be completely new, maybe an opportunity that's been sitting out there in front of you in the past. And that's, I don't know. I mean, I think that's not going to be true for everybody. And I think that also, and some of you have already shared with me, listen, there's more than one thing that gets me. And I have to tell you, I completely understand that. Okay, King of Wands and just King of Wands. So King of Wands actually comes out as a compliment to the Queen of Wands here. So they feel like a powerful couple, but also kind of like a power couple. There's a lot of intensity here with this, and I think this is this feels like something that you're moving into, but you're not in yet. So I think when we get into the extended here, I'm going to do something a little bit different. So I'm going to pull some of the cards that came out here, and I'm going to switch the deck so that this will become my my deck to look in a little bit more deeply. I'm going to grab a couple of these cards, and I'm going to look in a little bit more deeply as we get into the extended, specifically wanting to pull on this Tower card. The Empress still feels like we need some descriptions about it. Like, what is this that's coming? That's this wonderful energy. What is this difficult energy that they're moving into? 10 of Pentacles, I'd like to see a little bit more about that. This is potential changes in their environment, in their household. Doesn't have to be the house where they live. It could be where they work or something. And then I think maybe this King and Queen and this Ace of Wands, hopefully that's not too much. So that's what we're going to do when we get into the extended. And I'm actually going to set these aside, which is not usually how I do extended. So if this is going to be your first extended, then this will be a special surprise for you, because or if you've just never managed to get one before, or you've never clicked to get the extra or to get the extended, then this will give you some idea of what they're like. But basically, we just go in a little bit deeper and ask questions, additional questions. So I think since we're going to be pulling on these specific ones, I'll just go ahead and shuffle these back in here. So this is the part that you usually miss in between And so when we do the thank you reading, I just roll straight into it. Now, for the last few months, though, I've been giving you some additional information. So one month I did a tour of my workspace. Another time I did a tour of my table. Another time I answered some questions for you. And so I thought, oops, there's a bad shuffle. I thought while I was shuffling the cards this time around, I would let you see the shuffle again. And I would answer a question that has come in for me multiple times over the course of the past week. So I don't know what I said to you guys to make you ask this question multiple times. However, I've gotten the question multiple times. So why is it that, or how is it that you manage the experience of having this business as well as having, you know, a day job and a family? Because I know I've mentioned the day job before. So, you know, I would just say, and I'm going to tell you the honest truth here, this happens through energy management. I do it through energy management. So the short version is, and I book myself down to the 5 and 10 minute increments sometimes. So it gets a little intense, but in order to do my best, basically, I just got to make sure that I'm supporting myself properly in all the major areas. So physically, so I got to be eating well, exercising, getting sleep, taking care of myself. Emotionally, so I'm keeping close to my family and my friends, make sure the emotional needs are met. Mentally, always learning new things, keeping it interesting at work. And the spiritual side too, you know, so I'm keeping close to my higher self, my higher power, doing good every opportunity that I can, and meditating often. That helps me a lot. And so, you know, the key is to do short bursts of work and allow myself a little bit of break in between those bursts. It's kind of like building a muscle. You know, you got to push it hard, but then you need to give it a break. So over time it grows. But I would say I spend a lot of time pursuing things that set my soul on fire. And this is where it's probably the most interesting, because remember, I'm a part of this collective. So I also need to set my soul on fire and find something that's going to help me put my energy in the right places. And honestly, there's a lot of things. It's just, there are a lot of things to be passionate about. You know, I have a job that I really love, and of course this tarot channel, my family. These are things that I'm very much on fire about. And so the more I'm on fire about things, the more I'm able to do. So the only problem becomes kind of how to fit it into the day. And that's something that I'm very much still working on. So I would say momentum is key, but so is balance, constantly redefining success to be both things you can do and things that are exciting. And so actually what I'm working on right now, I promise I would tell you this as well, is the ability to turn my productivity on and off like a switch. So I don't sit there trying to relax, thinking about things I should be doing, or sit there working hard and spending all my brain power wishing I could go relax. So there's my answer. We're all shuffled up. I'm going to go ahead and jump in now to the extended. If the answer was insufficient, let me know. I tried to touch all the bases on the questions that got asked. But, you know, it's always kind of an interesting thing when you think about balancing different energies and different efforts. It can absolutely be done, but your momentum makes, and your mood makes a big difference. So let's get into this. We're going to look into, in this extended now, we're now in the extended portion of the reading. We're going to look into what is happening with this Empress, what is happening with the Tower, and what is happening with this Ten of Pentacles. Not necessarily in that order. I feel like, okay, we got to go this way. We got to go Tower, Ten of Pentacles, Empress. I knew that they came out a little bit differently there. Okay, and then we're going to look into the King and Queen of Wands for you. We're going to look into them together, so not just the powerful couple, but the power couple. And then the Ace of Wands, which is the thing that sets your soul on fire. So looking first into this Tower, this is a Tower that your person is experiencing. So tumultuous emotions. Four of Cups, they're they're pleasantly surprised, but it's not necessarily feeling completely pleasant to them right now. Something is bigger than they thought it was going to be. And they're very defensive toward it. They're very defensive toward it. There's something that's bigger than what they had anticipated, and they're at not just defensive, but feeling like full stop. But it's because this tower is almost in the reverse, because they almost have this feeling of wanting to deny or run away from what's going on here. Yeah, there's a tendency for them to want to run away, but they can't, because they're like, they know better now. They've done this before and they know better. They know they can't run away. This is about the bond with you. It's forcing them to realize something. There's something here that they can't necessarily unsee. If you're communicating with them, they're probably going to tell you about it. If you're not communicating with them, this may cause them to kind of shrink back a little bit more. Not necessarily energetically, but physically. So they may not be as inclined to reach out as maybe they have been over the last few days. Okay, so we've got the Seven of Spears going here in the reverse. This is, it's like a false trust that they're experiencing. They're trying to force themselves to have a trust for themselves so that they can do what needs to be done, but they really, like, they don't feel like they're ready to move forward. And I get the sense that, I mean, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear there, and they're trying to kind of keep a stiff upper lip and not experience, they don't want to fall to that fear. Okay, so 10 of Spears. This is a very old fear. It's a very old fear, but where's the other one that came out? It's a very old fear, but it's one that they've never quite conquered. So this is especially tough for them. And I know that I saw another one come out here. So I want to catch it before it disappears. Maybe I didn't. Oh, nope, here it is. Okay, so we have the Magician. I really thought that there was more than one that popped up. Sorry about that. Okay, we have the 10 of Spears, and we have the Magician in the reverse. Oh, so this is tough. This is basically them kind of, they're being dragged through this tower, whether they like it or not. They don't have the power to stop the process. And with the 10 of Spears, this is about that ancient, it feels ancient to them, ancient pain. This is something that they feel like they've kind of been dragged into and dragged through. They really, it's true. I mean, they don't have a lot of control over the situation. And it's an emotionally difficult situation that actually all by itself is going to trigger them. So this is the emotions that they have around you and around this bond are what they are drawn to as a response to everything else that's going on in them. But it also is something that they're very afraid to move toward. So it's kind of a drawn toward the very thing that you feel like you've got to stay away from. And it becomes, stuff gets real. I mean, this is a challenging kind of, what do I do now? And now we see a change in their environment too. So they've got a lot of change that's happening emotionally here, but we've got change happening in their actual environment. So it could be work, it could be home, but it's real change that's happening now. But you're going to start to see the impact of it, or they're going to start to see the impact of it. 7 of Flowers. So this is like the 7 of Wands in reverse. They don't feel very confident about this. This is not part of it. They don't feel very confident about this or the way that things are going right now. Something's got them feeling off balance. And we've got something so positive coming. I'm curious to see, ooh, what did I drop here? Nothing that wanted to fall face up or be part of the reading. You guys know if they fall face down, I'll grab them. Okay, so we got the Page of Flowers. Oh, and the 8 of Flowers. Okay, so this is energy happening quickly. Page of Flowers is curiosity, but it feels like the way that these feel coming out together. Oh, no, hold on. So something happens to them relatively quickly and they don't even see it coming. It's like they fall, but they don't even have time to put their hands up to break their fall, that sort of thing. And the thing is, they were warned. In this energy, they were warned. They were told, hey, this is going to be difficult if this happens. You need to take the right kind of precautions. I don't feel like they took the right kind of precautions, or they somehow didn't take it seriously. But it looks like they, despite the warnings, they're experiencing the tumultuousness. So there's something that is changing. This could be work. This could be work. There's some kind of partnership that's going to kind of hold them up. Could be like a friend at work. Could be the energy with you, but I feel like it's not. I feel like you're the one that they are. You're more off in the distance for them. You're more of something that they might try to attain. They really truly believe that they're moving toward their happiness. And so they've got a little bit of a difficult thing here, because what they feel like is going to move them toward their happiness also is moving them toward this tower situation. And really, they would like to get away from the tumultuous emotions of that tower situation. So, we've talked in the past about how sometimes there's multiple ways, multiple routes that they can take to get to the very same place. And maybe one's a longer route and one's a shorter route, one requires more lessons or whatever. This is a matter of taking a slightly different route to get to the same place, but it's all roads leading to this. It's all roads leading to this change, this situation that's kind of happening here for them. Not a comfortable place to be in. Again, though, not necessarily a bad place to be. And I especially feel that with the Empress card here. So remember, the Empress is symbolizing in this Empress, and oftentimes the Empress is expecting. And so again, like I was saying before, I'm not saying that you're expecting or that anyone in your situation is expecting. But what I am saying is that this is like a situation that has a lot of promise. There's definitely something coming from this situation. So we've got the Page of Hedgehogs. Page of Hedgehogs, though, this is that openness to learning. It's that openness to and willingness to try something new and to try a new way of thinking about things more than anything else. That's what's going to open the door for this Empress energy to walk through. And it's a very positive energy. It's not a super logical energy, though. It's something that you guys will end up feeling your way. So I feel like this is a mutual energy for the two of you, something positive that's coming in the future. But I feel like you end up feeling your way, and that it ends up being very this is a card of intellect, but it's also a card of brokenheartedness. And what I feel here is emotion, and emotion kind of pouring back into something. So something where emotion has been starved, or it's been something has made it stay away. And I'm reminded of that force field that we sometimes hear about around the third party, so that when they stumble into that force field, when they get into difficult home, this is difficult home, when they get into that force field, there is a sense of them not necessarily thinking about things the same way as they ordinarily would. This is, they almost, it's like something comes over them and they perceive things a little bit differently. I see that starting to change, and them being able to have more awareness around it and more of an ability to think through that. Every once in a while we see a little hint of that, but I see it a little bit more strongly here. And I think it has something to do with whatever's happening in this situation where we've got a change, and they're leaning into the change a little bit. I don't think they anticipate it being quite what it's going to be. Their confidence is not super high, and yet like I said, whatever this is happens relatively quickly. The thing that happens relatively quickly, and they were warned that it was likely to happen. But on some level, they think it's for the best, and I kind of can't disagree with them here. This is them kind of normalizing something that has made them feel bad over time. So here's somebody that has a habit or has an affliction or something that has made them be, teased or feel bad, and it's getting normalized, whatever it is. It's I'm going to do something ridiculous and say something that I can't imagine being a problem. They're left-handed, and getting left-handed gets normalized. So it's something that's happened all their lives, and they, for whatever reason, they got teased for it, or there was never any left-handed scissors or whatever. I mean, it's just, this is something that is getting corrected for them that makes a huge difference. So this 10 of Swords that has come out here, where they're addressing this ancient pain, there is something very positive comes out of this. This is not just fruitless difficulty. So, new perspective. This is the suspension card. This is new perspective coming their direction, and a willingness to try something new that comes out of this. They arise like a phoenix out of this. And I don't see the death card anywhere, but I feel it. This is a transformation kind of experience. It's transformational. But this passion, they hit the ground running with a beautiful kind of passion that I just think really, it's very, and it's like I believe what is happening over here, where they think they're moving toward their happiness. Clearly with this, this is something incredibly happy for them, and we know that it's resolution in something that has to do with you, but it's also something that has to do with this ancient pain and allowing themselves to kind of feel better and move past something. I see them moving past something here with the Temptation card here in the reverse. That's like the Devil card in the reverse. And then we've got the Wheel of Fortune in the upright, just talking about change. But this is like the universe moving you forward. Again, though, we've got the Suspension card, and that's a very universe-oriented card too, because this is like a new perspective, but it's one that you're put in front of. That's the nature of this. You feel like it's been shown to you. And with the Wheel of Fortune, you feel almost like things have just, everything has shifted to give you this new experience. It's that kind of feeling. And with the Temptation card, you've made it. Like you guys have, and this is a very shared energy. Remains a very shared energy of success, of overcoming something, a significant change. This is what's happening in this Empress energy. That's what's happening in, like, if I were going to say what is happening in the future, which you guys will notice if you listen to this channel, you notice I don't typically talk about here's what's going to happen in the future, because I know we've got all we can talk about what the energy is looking like, and then we've got everybody's free will that gets put on top of it. But this is basically saying even their free will is going to go in a great direction, and they're going to have a healthy belief that they actually deserve the good that's coming. And same with you. This is not imposter syndrome. This is a very positive card. The King of Hedgehogs, which is that King of Earth energy, kind of like the King of Pentacles. It's just very, it's reassuring to see that, because this is somebody who provides for themselves and for others, and this is almost an emotional providence. So let's see here. I want to go ahead and pull on this King and Queen of Wands, because we have the Lovers card over here, which I feel like kind of talks a little bit about this. But this is the bond between the two of you. It's that powerful couple as well as the power couple. So let's learn a little bit more about that. This is reconciliation. It is not necessarily union. I'm getting that. So reconciliation is when you solve what's happened between the two of you, or you solve what's not even between you, get things relatively sorted out. Reunion is where you come back together. In order for you to have reunion, you're really going to have some form of reconciliation. But this is more around the reconciliation that I'm seeing here. So we've got the Four of Spears. When the two of you recognize and truly acknowledge, so this is something that may be happening. We saw evidence of that in the initial reading. When that happens, when the two of you come together and say, okay, I can't even deny this, there's going to be an issue with the healing not being done. The healing is still not done, and yet this door opens. You know, the healing is still very much in process. Does not mean that you can't still move forward and open the door. It just means that you've still got work to do. And there is absolutely still work to do. So we've got the Three of Teacups happening in the reverse here. This is change in one of your lives, maybe both of your lives, that changes a third-party energy. So you could both have some third-party energies going on, whether it's a spouse or you could both have somebody that you are with, or you could, neither of you could, and it could be work related on both sides. But this is essentially third party energy, is just anything that isn't the two of you, but that does impact the two of you pretty strongly. So could be work, could be family, could be spouse, could be various things. Both of you have some potential impact happening with third-party energy there that helps to kind of clear the way for the two of you to get into a better place. And I will say this is not the most conventional of, I would call it, bonds. It's not the most conventional bonds I've ever seen. But there's a lot of strength in the bond for you together, a lot of options for you. We saw the Seven of Teacups there. It was kind of an honorable mention. It'll come out again if it's supposed to come out, but it really feels like, although there are a lot of options, the only reason those options are even possible is because of the way that you are looking at it, thinking about it. There's a huge element of this only works because of your emotional self-mastery that we see here with the Eight of Hedgehogs. Two of Spears, you have some choices to make. So you have an option to make a mistake here that would make it very difficult for the two of you to move forward. I'm not suggesting that's going to happen. What I'm going to suggest here is that the way is not necessarily all the way figured out. There are still some things that are as yet unwritten. We see that here with the Eight of Teacups in the reverse. This is a quest, but it's a quest that right now is not coming out as much of a quest. It looks a little bit more like an aimless meandering. So something to keep in mind. Somebody's on a quest that isn't a real quest because they haven't taken the blinders off yet. Or they're kind of haven't left the familiar area. They have to get out of their comfort zone in order to make it happen. So there's an element of that. The moon, yeah, okay, so one of the reasons they're hanging out in their comfort zone is because they don't actually know which way to go, and there's not enough clarity to give a lot of understanding. We know there are a lot of opportunities, a lot of options, but sometimes that's not all you need. Sometimes you need a little bit more guidance as to which one to take and how that's going to go. There is a good sense of, and I feel like this is coming along with this King of Hedgehogs. So this is the Emperor, and honestly, this is going to be all four of the kings put together, that sort of energy. But I'm feeling that King of Hedgehogs especially strongly in here. And so it's one of the reasons that things have the potential to be successful and turn into not just a reconciliation, but a union. Has everything to do with this Emperor energy kind of balancing out and not being so darned narcissistic anymore. And the thing is, it's not necessarily that this person is a narcissist. What I'm seeing here is a lot of narcissistic tendencies. It's not going to be everybody. So if I'm saying that and you look at your situation and say, I really don't get the sense that that's what that is, take a look at the narcissist cycle and see if there's anything in there that resonates. But it doesn't necessarily mean that your person is a certifiable narcissist. But what I will tell you is it balances out. There's something here that it's not necessarily everything that changes, but something in that background, that Ten of Spears, ancient pain is what's driving a lot of this narcissism and that sort of behavior. This balance that happens as a result of this reconciliation with you is like the strongest way to bring them back into balance, because you are an incredibly balancing force for them. Sometimes you trigger them and it pushes them off balance about as far as it can go. But you'll notice that when things are going well, you guys balance each other out incredibly well. And that's part of how you have that power couple and that powerful couple element. So let's get into this Ace of Wands. I'm just wanting to see, I don't know exactly what it is that made me feel like I needed to draw additional cards on this one, but this is that feeling of setting your soul on fire. So let's just see what there is to know about that. Maybe for those of you who haven't necessarily found that thing yet, let's get a little bit of information about what that is. And for those of you who are working through it and navigating it now, what do you need to know? So we've got the Three of Flowers. Okay, doesn't matter how far behind you think you are, jump in. That's what comes out with this card. So it's, I will tell you that, I recently met someone who started rock climbing at the age of 57, okay? And at first they were very daunted by this concept. I mean, they were in decent shape and everything, but it was like, that's a big deal. And if you fall, like falling's different, and this is somebody that started with, they felt like the deficit of their age, and it has been the thing that set their soul on fire, but it was a little bit of an unexpected thing. So it was something they always wanted to do, and somebody invited them along, and they just didn't say no. That's really kind of what it was. They just didn't say no. It was like, I've mentioned it before. There's this silly Jim Carrey movie called The Yes Man. And in it, the plot is all about him, having to say yes to everything for some period of time, I think. Anyway, it changes his entire life, and it's kind of interesting to watch. Interesting concept. It's one that you might think about, but I don't know that you would want to take it quite to that extent, because you don't want to have to be living through something that ought to be a movie. Okay, so the strength card in the reverse. So here is fear winning out at times, but it's like you're going to see it, you're going to recognize it for what it is. When fear wins out over anything for you, you're going to feel it and be very aware that that is what is happening. So, okay, 5 of hedgehogs. You're going to, with this passion, you're going to find the edges of what your healing is. Okay, so you come into this situation with this reconciliation unhealed. You also know that you've got some healing to do, and this is area where you're healing it with you and your person does some overlap in the area of the big 3. So that's the fear of rejection, of abandonment, and betrayal. It's going to show up. It's going to show up here in this. I still feel like the greatest areas of pain are behind you. But I also get the sense that you're going to be, you're going to figure out how much healing you've done, and you're going to see some areas where you want to get better and you want to continue to heal. I don't think it's going to be as difficult for you as some of what you've seen in the past here, in the recent past, but you'll be all warmed up and ready to go. Okay, so 4 of flowers in the reverse, this thing that sets your soul on fire does not necessarily do a bunch to, I guess, get you feeling more stable. Like, it shakes things up. It's something that, I talked about in my own situation, trying to figure out how to fit all this cool stuff that sets my soul on fire into my day. That's the kind of problem that you have here. But again, it's a great problem to have. The answer is to step down certain things, So you can have everything that you want. You just can't have it for 3 hours every day. Okay, so the 7 of teacups in the reverse. This is about having options but not understanding what they are. But the answer is about opening yourself up to the emotion. So you've got the 1 of teacups, Queen of hedgehogs, and I feel like, okay, that's where we have to stop. But these are fabulous cards. So this is about opening yourself up to the emotion that's involved in the overall process. And with the Queen of hedgehogs, this one is about, so it's the mate to that King of hedgehogs. Those are the, so that 10 of Pentacles household is that household where everyone has what they need. All of the resources are there. The needs are covered. Everybody's covered emotionally, materially, etc. The heads of that household are the Queen and King of, in this case, hedgehogs, earth energy. And they're very much, nurturing. They very much make sure that you're covered and they provide. So there's emotional providence in this King of hedgehogs. There's all the rest of the emotional and needs covered here with the Queen of hedgehogs. But with the 1 of teacups, it really just feels like, gosh, all you have to do is open yourself up to it and it's going to come to you. So I wanted to save a little bit of space and a little bit of room also. So I never know how many cards are going to come out. So I kind of sometimes I have to get creative with the way that I arrange them. But I knew I wanted to have some space for you to have an oracle card. So I'm glad that they stopped coming out right when they did. So we've got the empathy card. Oh, it's one of my favorites. I am open to seeing both sides of a situation. So there's a situation out here for you somewhere, may or may not be directly related to you and your person or either of your third parties. But there's a need for empathy and a need for somebody to provide some understanding or to allow for some understanding. And seeing both sides of a situation is going to dramatically change things for basically everybody involved and everyone's satellite to the situation. So look for the opportunity to have the empathy and to use it. I think it's going to cause you to not say something that you would otherwise have said, and it's not even necessarily a bad thing, and there's nothing negative behind it. It's just something that you all of a sudden say, oh my goodness, that's going to make somebody feel a certain way, and I almost said it anyway. I mean, you're going to catch yourself, but you're going to know you did, and it just kind of sets you on a path of catching things like that, and you are particularly good at this. in this energy, but not for the wrong reasons. So sometimes people are very good at putting themselves in the positions of others because they have they were raised in a codependent situation or something like that. Um, and a lot of times that's even who tends to bond, with the type of personality that we're often seeing your person to be. However, this empathy is also a remarkable tool. And when you're using what you have for good, it has an amazing impact. So you're encouraged to do that. And it really feels like it's relevant to this thing where you're setting your soul on fire. Because a lot of times what you guys are doing with setting your soul on fire is actually helping a great many people. So keep going with that. It's a beautiful thing. And, I'm going to wrap up this reading, but I just want to say thank you one more time for being such a fabulous collective, for letting me be here with you, for joining here with me. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow's reading and to seeing you there. All right. Take care.